Greetings, greetings. Welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday to you. Another Saturday. Pretty nice and a shy. I'm hearing a little, I don't know what that is, police activity. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's pretty nice. You got your window open and you're not freezing. Can't beat that. So, but anyway, hope you guys are having a fabulous time. Not sure what the weather is in your world, but it's definitely 40 here in the shy. And we can't ask for a better temp. Got a few days before Christmas, no snow on the ground. Well, you still need a hat on your head. You can get away without gloves, but you don't want to have that ash. I would say put some gloves on. Anyway, shout out to the chat room. Thank you everyone for coming. Appreciate you. Thank you for your support. It's always a wonderful thing. And as I always say, the support is your participation in the chat room, your thumbs up, and your financial support to the channel. It's all considered support. And I appreciate whatever it is that you have to offer. Yesterday, if you guys didn't know, I'll let you know that it was the first show that we had on a Friday, the NeoSector for Women channel, because there's no more BGS for Women, which was the channel I hosted, co-hosted, however you want to say it. And I said, well, let's go ahead and try this on Fridays. Let's see what happens. See if anybody shows up. And we had a little nice turnout. And I do appreciate those who came by, checked in us, checked in on us. And I do see a few of you all in the chat room, so thanks again. I have a couple of topics. Nothing too spectacular. Um, I'll say a few things. Hello, Miss First Lady Neek. Shout out to you, Cerulean. Zero, my hero. Yeah, I said it. Christine, how you doing, Miss Williams? Crew, thank you so much for coming through. Appreciate your support. And I think I saw Vonda. Let me scroll on up. Oh, can't scroll no more. Okay. What the heck is that noise? Oh, okay. They stopped. But anyway, let's see what we're going to start off with. Let me check. Let me check my note. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Speaking of notes, I'm looking forward to finding out some more details about this whole Trump thing. It's been all over the news. I know it's a cover up for something else that's going down. I'm not quite sure what it is. I've been very busy and haven't been able to keep up. Um, but um, yeah, he's impeached, but I don't think they're going to remove him. And I may be behind in my news, like I said, but that's just my opinion. I don't see it happening. Um, but we'll see. All right. Let me share my screen. I don't know what the heck is going on. Somebody is doing some knocking. What the? Okay, I'm going to try to ignore it. Because it's a bit irritating. I have not heard this much activity since the summer. But like I said, it's warm outside. It's right at the holiday. Hey, people getting active. They doing what they doing. And the kids out of school. That's the other thing. Sound like they putting something together. Hmm. Okay. Anyway, let me share my screen here. Give me a second. Let's see. I'm gonna get better and faster at this eventually. It all takes practice, that's all. But I'm not really in a big hurry. Hope you guys aren't. And if you are, please have patience with me. Please. I do appreciate it. All right. I am about Trump food stamp cuts begin soon and Black Americans to be hit the hardest, or hardest hit is what it reads. Um, how true is that? I need some water, I think. Hold on a second, please. All right. Um, now I did some research. I'm not even gonna pull that up and share it anything, but as far as the amount of Black people that's on food stamps, um, it's less than white people. So the way they have the article as if it's so many of us or more of us than them that are on food stamps. And I would think, excuse me, unless you know how to target just Black people in general, which I'm sure there is a way, but everyone would be affected evenly, in my opinion. Let me see what else this article says. Let me read it. My book doesn't. Let me see. I needed some tea. That's what I should have gotten before I started, but I didn't. I'll get over it. All right, where's my screen? Gosh darn it. Hello, Miss Fonda. How are you? And welcome. I think I imagined you in the chat room already. So I said hello to you before you got here. So it was your spirit, I think. Yeah, that was it. Let's see. Where's the screen so I can read the story, the article? Okay, there we are. As Kyle Wade, if that's how you pronounce it, or Y, I'm not sure, visited the Atlanta Community Food Bank recently, where he is CEO, he ran into a woman who had recently lost her administrative job at a university. She was looking for work, she told him, but it was hard to find. She was struggling to get by. Though she had food stamp benefits, she still needed to visit Wade's food bank until she landed a new job, she added, because she had a home and a child to pay for. Excuse me. With her job gone, she said she needed all the extra help she could get to feed her family. Now I'm going to mention, as far as having a home or whatever, I'm going to share a story that happened to me. When I was younger, my dad got sick and he ended up passing away. So I was in school. I was trying to finish getting my associate's degree. Excuse me. And me and my mom, we needed some help. So I was in school, and one of the my classmates told me that I can get food stamps and also car fare, you know, bus fare to get to school. So I said, really? So I actually went to the office, and that was true. So I had to make an appointment because back in that time you had to make an appointment, and they send you a letter and have you to come back and all of that. And I ended up doing that, and I was able to get food stamps. But the funny thing was, you actually had a choice. You couldn't get food stamps and money. Because I think the young lady that I was speaking to, I think she had money. And so what ended up happening, they changed the way they were doing it. I think they only gave you food stamps. Or was it money? You know what? I take that back. Take that back. It's been so long ago. They actually gave you money. They didn't give you food stamps. And I ended up talking to a counselor, I think my sophomore year, and she was telling me that Um, White people had ran it in the system so bad, in the ground rather, that they stopped giving food stamps because at that time it was paper food stamps. So they stopped doing that because a lot of them were at school and they were getting food stamps. So I'm like, wow. I said, well, you know, I just happen to be at a time of need. And, it's, sad to hear that. So when I went to the office, and that's what I'm getting to, when I had an appointment, because you had to go quite often. I don't recall how often, but you had to go kind of often. And I had made it, I think, where my school classes I only went, was it 3 times a week? Yeah, I think I went 3 times a week. At first, I was going four, and I made it for 3 times a week. So I went to the appointment I had for these, because you have to take in your schedule, and they had you to fill out this application of, your skills and stuff. So I'm only 18, 19 years old, so I didn't have that many skills. So I volunteered and the other part-time job I had in the summer job. And I'm gonna tell you what they did to me, like I'm under attack. But that's what I say. This is what they did to me. They actually had me to go work somewhere for those dollars. And at that time, it was $154. I should never forget that number. $154. And I worked it. I think they gave me 4 days of work, 4 or 5 days. I had to work for that. And at the time, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. So the hours I worked, I still was given more than the $154 that they gave me for the month. And I did ask about that. I did. Hello, Hassan and Classy Ruby. That's your new name now. And I had asked about it. I'm like, what is that all about? So that was, I think, maybe that was the beginning of the work to welfare or whatever the program was called. But I was questioned before that when I got my assignment. That's what I'm gonna call it, an assignment. I was questioned about a purse I had because when I had graduated from high school, my godmother got me a Gucci purse, a real Gucci purse, and so I had that purse when I went to the welfare office, and the caseworker, because you actually met with a caseworker face to face, she actually questioned me about it. And I was, a very quiet and timid person, but I also was still grieving the loss of my dad. And I told that woman um, that I'm in need. This was a gift, and I'm here because I'm in need. And she told me that they may not give it to me next time because I think they gave it to me maybe a month. You had to go back every month or whatever the qualification was if you were in school. And she said, "Well, if your rent is, I think my rent back then was three something, whatever it was. That $154 wasn't gonna cut it. That was just part of it." And she told me that they may not give me the money because I wouldn't be able to cover the rent. And she said, "So how are you gonna pay your rent?" And the words flowed so evenly out of my lips. I don't even know where it came from. I said, "I'm a woman, ain't I?" And I swear to you to this day, and that's been over 30 something, well, 30 years, I have no idea where that came from. It just came up out of me. And that woman didn't bother me anymore. She didn't say anything else. But when I was just, read some of this article here, when the woman says she had a home, it just reminded me that you're not always in a bad place when you need assistance. You can just have a bad time. You can be sick in your body and can't work and lose your job and need some assistance. But some of the programs, they'll ask you to list bank accounts and all this type of stuff. And at the time, I had a small savings account, and I do mean small. It might have been just a minimum $100 to keep it open after my father passed. And when they gave me that list and to my some list all the stuff you have, I just went right on over that part about the bank account. I'm like, these people crazy. And also, I end up having to pay it back. And I'm still trying to find anyone who had to pay it back that got it legally and had to pay it back. They actually made me pay that back. I got it when I think I turned 19 and I had it till I was 20. So I had it for a little bit over a year. Can't remember exactly how many months, but I had it over 12 months, less than uh, 18. I graduated. I got a job a little bit after graduation, and I got a letter in the mail from public aid about, I think it was still warm outside because I graduated in June. And I got that letter and I started work in July, not August maybe. And they wanted me to pay the food, I mean, the money back. And I'm like, and I asked all my friends, and even because I kept in touch with the young lady from school, and I asked her about that. I said, "Do you have to pay the money back?" And she says, "No." And as you know, some years went past. I kept up in contact with her for about a good 10 years, and I asked her about that, and she said, "No, she did not have to pay that money back." So I'm looking like, "What is this?" And I'm like, I just can't believe it. But I had to end up paying that money back. And I went on and paid it back. I didn't, really say much about it. Just paid it back. $50 a month, I think I did until I paid it back. And within that year and a half or whatever it wasn't that much money. It was over $1,000, less than two, I think, or right at two. And they made me pay all that back. But I had to look on the bright side. I said, look, I needed it. That was number one. Number two, at least they didn't make me pay the car fare back because they gave me car fare for 5 days a week, even though I worked, I was going to school for 3 days a week. And I'll tell you how I did that. I had withdrew from the classes because I had the 5 days a week. Um, I turned in that sheet and then I withdrew from the class. And but I was still able to get the 5 days of car fare. So when I hung out with my friends and boyfriends, I was dating. Yeah, I was dating, and I would hang out with my friends and boyfriend, and hey, I had some extra car fare for the weekend. But that's my story about the welfare. It just brought those memories back when I read that this woman had a home. Because you can, like I said, you can have some things fall on hard times, but some people think you're poor all your life just because you apply for it or be eligible for it at that time. Welcome, classy woman.
Thank you for having me. Um, this is a great story and topic to bring up because I think a lot of times when we talk about subjects, we tend to only talk about one side of that subject.
Hmm.
So when we talk about welfare, food stamps, we talk about, oh, the people who are born into this culture where that's what you do, you start early and blah, blah, blah. And we forget that there are definitely people who never planned on ending up there. fought and
Mhm.
struggled, did everything they could, but it came down to either they feed their kids, or they don't. And if they're going to feed their kids, this is the option they got to go for. So, and I've seen people, actually, I've really honestly seen both scenarios. I think I've seen scenarios where people are definitely kind of hustling the government, quote unquote. And
Mhm.
or this was their plan. This is their life plan because it's a better life plan than the other options, which in and of itself. And we were just talking about this yesterday with childcare costing so
Mhm.
much money. And it's like if you're right at that earning point where they don't consider you poor anymore, you're paying what did we figure out, $20,000 a year for childcare to go back to work, which then
24,000.
24 which means if that bracket is 40,000, that's 16,000 take home. You would basically have to go move you and your five kids into a two-bedroom roach motel for you to be able to survive at all, and that's not with food. So
Mhm.
it's like we don't really think about the fact that sometimes um you know uh, when you make blanket policies, sometimes you're not taking into account how to really best help every scenario. People who do own homes and cars and are providing their children with, decent life, and something, they fall in hard times. A husband passes away, they get laid off. They can no
Mhm.
longer, yes, afford that, maybe that quality of living. Downsizing, okay, being responsible and downsizing is important, but are they supposed to downsize to a roach motel? Is that the only reasonable answer? Because, someone can't get, let's say, 6 months or 1 year of really high, let's say, really high coverage. I wish they would give that option. You can either go on the basic minimum kind of requirements that we give everyone, or for 1 year, but only 1 year, we will cover life for you. So we're going to cover the childcare. We're going to cover your actual mortgage and car payments, and we're going to cover all of that. So that way you have the real opportunity, a real shot at going out there and finding a new job, one that is still within your career, one that's still going to allow you to cover your debts and your payments and so on and so forth. So that way, you don't have to uproot your children, rip them out of good schools and rip them out of a life and family and neighborhood and community they've been in maybe their whole lives,
Uh-huh.
and downgrade them because, well, that's what you get when you have to go on welfare. You shouldn't want to rely on the government. Not everyone does. Not everyone is happy to be there. I know
Mhm.
my mom was like a hop, skip, and a jump away, more than one occasion, and it was just luck. It was just luck that she was able to continue making ends meet until some other way was found. Um, but then you get women who they get into that desperation cycle. Then you see them going into porn, you see them going into stripping, you see them going into prostitution, anything to avoid having to rip their kids out of something, anything to avoid having to go on welfare. Sometimes I've seen that as well. So it's a difficult situation, especially if the job market is dead right now, and there's lots of unemployment, and there's crashes everywhere. Well, then I understand that, yeah, they're your children, your family, your responsibility, but and I'm not just talking about for women. I'm talking about for people who have families in general, who have children in general. That they were doing a good job, and shit happens. I do think that it would be nice if we cared enough to really give them a leg up or a support system, a net
Mhm.
to catch them before they hit the ground.
Yeah. And also, like Christine mentioned that everyone is getting food stamp. When I used to hear that people's getting food stamp at work, so I'm ignorant to the fact. I'm going to work and I'm hearing this on the news. Do. And then after I got laid off, and now I have more time at home, I'm paying more attention. I'm actually learning how that worked out. people were earning the minimum wage. Because I always heard the example of Walmart. People working at Walmart but was getting food stamps. So I'm talking about in the 80s. So I don't know what's going on year 2015. I'm like, well, what's going on that people are able to work and get food stamps? What's that all about? And I found more information about it, and I'm like, wow, that's really messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And um, in fact, it was Cerulean explained it to me how the policy was and how the corporations were doing. And I'm like, wow, this is just a whole shady thing. And a lot of people are always saying that which it is true, we do pay some money into uh, welfare, but I put a chart up for the food stamps. You're really not paying that much into it, but you are paying some. So big deal. $36, you probably spend that going to a movie theater and some
Mm-hmm.
popcorn and nachos nowadays. So okay, fine, dandy, okay, whatever. But more of our money, as far as our taxes, are going to other things. So sometimes people need some help. You're not always on top, as they say, all the time. You have a struggle, like I mentioned. I've known people that got sick and couldn't work. They was that Bill Clinton had introduced the FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, and that really worked out for a lot of people. And actually, it even helped me some when my mom started getting me. It really helped me out as well. And you're not losing your job just because you had to take some time off. Because I've always been one. Let me have some time off. Okay, I don't get paid for it, but the most important thing, let me have some time off. I don't lose my job. I need some time off for some different things. So that helped me, and I really was glad about that. So as far as this whole, you just on it because you want it and you living off of it, it's really not a anything to retire on.
Mm-mm.
You just, I mean, you have to have several people, whether they're children or family members or whatever, living together to meet the needs of the rent. And even if you got Section 8, okay, now you got many kids, and many kids need some money for clothing and all the other things. So you're going to need many people and many individuals, whether they're
Mm-hmm.
children, friends, family, whatever, so you can pay some bills. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not all that glamorous. It just
No.
really isn't.
No, and I'm glad you brought up the whole Walmart thing because a lot of people don't realize that these big corporations, what they do is they move into areas where there literally are job deserts. And then they open up. And then they hire people, they hire them part time, sometimes make them work more than full time hours weekly, but because they're part time, they're only getting minimum wage, they're getting zero benefits, and so a lot of people who are working full time hours are still on welfare, because as far as their income that they're getting, they still qualify for welfare, first of all, which is sad
Hmm.
in and of itself, despite working so many hours. And then, they have to be on welfare to get those additional benefits that, kids need, that the company should be giving to their employees, but they don't even hire. As far as I understand, they don't even bother to hire full time anymore. Why? When they have this great hustle, they can save themselves billions by running this hustle and putting it on the government, for the
Hmm.
government to provide benefits to their basically full-time employees. They found out a hustle. And so when you see the numbers and the statistics, they're greatly skewed oftentimes because it's not taking into account people who are on welfare who work full-time or even work part-time because that's all they can get from this company, but they have part-time status only. We don't realize that, again, there's so much more to the story. I mean, even like for myself, I went 10 months before I said, okay, you know what, with my health, this is going to last a little longer than I was hoping. Um, I don't think I can avoid this anymore. I'm going to have to go this way. Let me look into this disability thing. And so the first thing you have to do if you're going to go on disability is apply for welfare. And what I really needed was coverage for my medications because I wasn't on a health plan. And so, because I wasn't on any type of health plan, my medications were costing me out of pocket thousands of dollars. I didn't have it. And I had run up, maxed out every credit card. My mom had maxed out credit cards, and we couldn't afford it anymore, really. Between that and my bills, I was maxed out. And I was trying to do everything I could not to go on any kind of assistance. And I really put myself in a bad financial spot,
Mhm.
in a bad debt spot, really hurt my credit really badly at 25 years old because for 10 months I didn't want the shame and stigma of having to go and apply for, social welfare of any kind.
Mhm.
And the worst part is that people say, "Oh, well, you were being irresponsible." Well, I didn't think I was, because I mean, again, I was in a great place, and with my credit cards now, initially, I was told because I had insurance. I had insurance on everything, but my insurance didn't. My insurance, which I found out later, so people should look into this. My insurance covered unemployment. It covered if I was suddenly unemployed. It did not cover if I was sick, and then some of them covered me becoming sick, but only if I was employed first. And since I was in school full time at the time, and only working full time during the summers, I didn't qualify. So
Oh.
now all of a sudden, this insurance that I thought I had, I didn't have anymore. I didn't have a safety net that I thought I had built up to help me. So and these are the things. It's like, as much as people again think, oh well, oh it's an easy ride, oh it's so easy, you just go do this, you could just go. No, and even me applying for disability, I get denied
Mhm.
over and over and over again because I couldn't prove that I would be sick forever. That was it. So if I had gone in and I said I had anorexia, boom, I would get it. If I went in and said I'm an alcoholic, I'm a heroin addict, boom, I'd get it because you can prove that
Mhm.
addiction is forever, even if you're dead sober. But addiction is forever. But because I couldn't prove, because it was actually a long process of diagnosis, took a
Mhm.
long time, and I couldn't prove. I could only prove that my body's breaking down. I could prove I had all these things. I couldn't prove I would be unable to work forever, and so they deny me. So I was on welfare because they continually denied me because I couldn't prove that I was sick enough to be on disability. Even though people on disability were running around having the time of their lives, but they said, but I have depression. Boom. And the worst part is I could have applied. I could
Mhm.
still apply for depression because I have major depressive disorder. But me being honest, I guess as a person, I didn't want to claim disability for something that's not disabling me. If
Mhm.
that makes any sense. Sure, I have this condition,
It
but it's not
does.
it's not the problem, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so because of that, oh well, now I'm a statistic. I'm on welfare. Well, I wanted to be on welfare. No, that's not how it worked. But people again, I'm going to be another number on that statistic ladder. You're going to look that you're grouping in and saying, see, just another black woman. She probably has 3 kids, and this was what her mom did. And this, none of my parents have ever been on welfare. Actually, and that was the thing. I didn't want to be the first. I really
Mhm.
didn't. I didn't want to like almost sully their name. So much so do we look down on welfare in our community.
Mhm.
So, I really think we need to change those social stigmas a little bit and understand. Sure, we do got to talk to the people who think that that's, the height of your life goals. Like, wait until you're old enough and then have a bunch of babies so you can live on welfare and Section 8. Hooray. Yes, we got to talk to those people. But, there's a lot more, I think, if we're being honest, a lot more that's not what the case is.
Yeah, this working poor is no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Because the jobs that I'm finding, they are not full time.
Right.
I forgot who it is that calls it the gig economy, and it's no joke. Um, you are literally just a contractor. You get a contract here, a contract there. Here's a contract. There's a contract. Everywhere, contract, contract. You're just not finding well, big, nice paying jobs with benefits that you don't need a master's or a bachelor's. You actually are just getting part time. And then to be able to qualify for food stamps is just amazing, just literally amazing to me. And when I found out last year, because my after my gig, if you want to call it, my I was able to qualify for food stamps because the amount of unemployment I had at the time, I was eligible. And so, okay, well, let me go ahead and try this. Well, it didn't quite work out with me too for me too well because they were changing the system. So I think they would give me $36, but they were going
Mm.
off of my year before income.
Mm.
And I kept going to update it, and it taken about, was it 4 or 5 months. And then they said, okay, you qualify for whatever it was, 100 and something. But I had found work then. So I'm like, well, thank you for the $36 because that's $36 I appreciate I didn't have. And
Mhm.
and then another thing, someone was making fun of someone. I don't know what it was about. It might have been a show, a talk show, or something. I don't know what it was. And they were talking about not affording seafood. And I'm like, hey, that's a little pricey. I got to stretch out my dollar here. I got a
Mm.
gig going on. I can't go and get all these the fancy salmon and stuff. And when I do get it, I celebrate. I take
Mhm.
my time and I eat it. I don't even only thing I put on there is seasoning because I want to taste it. I'm not going to drown it in no hot sauce and then I'm take my time
Mhm.
because the stuff is pricey.
Yes. Yes. So true.
Yeah, so it's just I just wanted to bring awareness to that. When I saw that story, I said, well, let me just share an example and just talk about the fact that it's not just people with children. You just can find yourself in a situation. I think I started the story that my friend, she got sick, so she had less hours at work, and they ended up just letting her go. Um,
Wow.
so I think she got some. Did she get unemployment? You know what? I think she has such a hard time, but whichever way, she ended up trying to apply to get assistance, but she was prideful. It took her a while. And the woman had a,
Mhm.
a home, and because she was older, hey, she had a pension. I'm still. Anybody got a pension out there? Share with a friend. So anyway, so she would just happen to be at an age that she had a pension. So I'm like, shoot, that was great.
Mhm.
But she was very prideful when it came down to assistance. And I had mentioned to her, I'm like, if you need that and you qualify for it, why not get it? Because you do pay into the system and you've worked 40 years of your life. Hey,
Right.
get you some help because it's not forever. I think
Mhm.
it's I think they go every 6 months. So I'm like, you still have to qualify. So try 6 months, see if that helps you because you don't have the money. Use that and get you some food. Especially you're a diabetic now. Lady, go get you some help.
Mhm.
Do what you got to do
Mhm.
because she had to end up using her pension money to try to keep um, that house. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I know she, like I said, she's prideful. I don't know what she ended up doing. 'Cause I hadn't talked to her in a while, but I know she was talking about selling, but she didn't want to, and all of that. I'm like, I understand if you had something for a while and it's sentimental and all of that, but if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's just pension. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a little excited. I thought somebody. offer me a pension in the chat room.
Right? I'm just saying, yo, anyone's got one. You got an extra one. You know what I mean? You want to pass it on, like you said, share with a friend. 401k. Listen, I don't mind if you want to give me your 401k as is. I'll take it, no problem. You don't need it, right? Like you can build a new one. You got this. I believe in you. Yeah, no, I totally feel that. I totally feel that. And you know, and it's rough if you don't have those safeguards in place. What I think is amazing, though, is for people who are employed and they have been working, right? They've been working, but they just work somewhere that doesn't give them stuff, right? I'm not giving you no pension. I'm not giving you no 401k. You don't get nothing, right? I'll give you
Mhm,
dental, right? You get dental, you get some medical insurance, and you get a job. You want it? Yeah, okay. And people will work there, right, for 40 years until they retire, and then they'll go, "Damn, I have no pension." And you know, I think to myself, what they don't teach us is people don't have to set up a 401k for you or a pension for you in order for you to have one when you retire. If you are reliably employed, comfortably employed, just paying a small amount of money into yourself weekly or bi-weekly whenever you get paid is
mhm,
enough for you to at least have a little bit of a nest egg, a cushion when you retire. um, you know, you don't even have to go pay special financial people because you could just go right into your bank and they'll tell you how to set these funds up. So you put, once you get to a certain amount of money, $1,000, you put it into this. It's gonna mature in 25 years. It'll be worth this much, or you know, like you
mhm.
can do that constantly with money. Just saving $20, $50 a paycheck. You know, $50 a month even can
Uh-huh.
add up to be quite a lot if you are reliably employed. But we don't do that,
Mhm,
and a lot of people, they'll do it if it automatically comes out of their check anyway. And I know I was one of those
mhm.
people. So like when I worked at Bell, it was very easy for me to save a whole hundred something dollars a paycheck because they just took it. Right? They didn't ask me. They just took it because I signed up for it. And
Right.
so after the first few months, I didn't even miss that $100. I just knew I wasn't gonna have it. That's what it is. You know, and
Right.
you work around it. That's what it is. And it's like we can do that to ourselves. I think we have to, when we get to that place where we're financially secure and stable, we have to be willing to let go of little amounts of money and pay ourselves first. And by paying ourselves first, that's not, you know, getting your nails done or your hair done or whatever. It's
Mhm,
paying towards your future, you know? Even paying towards, because sometimes we'll think about our kids, right? I think women are
mhm,
good at thinking about kids if they have them. So they finally get a little bit of money, they want to think about their kids, and that makes sense, and you should definitely do that too. But just remember that, and this is what my grandmother did. I watched her do this my whole life, and it upset me, but I got it. Even when I was a kid, she was paying a little bit of money a month, every
mhm.
month for years, like over a decade, paying for her own funeral. My grandmother, over the course of a decade, paid for her own funeral. All of the arrangements, the headstone, everything is prepaid for. So when she dies, all the arrangements are set up and prepaid for at this one funeral home. The plot, everything. And she did it. She said she didn't want that stress and that pressure to be on her kids when she died.
Mhm.
Right now, I was mad, and I was like, well, you know, you shouldn't have to do this. We should be willing to do this for you, and blah blah blah, with my little self-righteous 7-year-old self, right? But yeah, no, right? But now, I guess being an adult, I see it more and I get it. Like, if you are saving up and for a pension, for your expenses to be covered, if you make sure that you're having insurance, then it's not going to fall on your kids, you know, or
Uh-huh.
your loved ones to support you when you get to the age where you can't work anymore and you can't support yourself, you know? You take
Mhm.
that burden off of them.
Yeah. I know there was a time that people used to come around, knock on your doors, and that was in the, I think it was in the 80s. And they
Mm-hmm.
would come knock on the door and sell you life insurance policies. And a lot of people, black people, they got those. That was
Mm-hmm.
very popular, and it was something they got. I don't know when it ended, but I would say, let me see, those that may be in their 70s now, those are the people that have them, and everyone else don't. because I have
Right.
seen a lot of people, family members died that they were in their 60s or 50s, and there was nothing, and they were scratching their heads trying to figure out how to bury them. And I recently found out that they will keep you out of the ground 30 days because they have a layaway plan. You have to get that money together, or else they're not going to bury your loved one. And I'm
Right.
like, 30 days? I said, wow, okay. I didn't know that was going on, but apparently it is. So um, I had thought about it one time. I had some coworkers, I was in my 20s, and they were laughing at me because I always have some weird stuff to say or peculiar. I got to use that word.
Mhm.
And we were looking at the newspaper because, hey, that was popular. One person buy the newspaper and pass it around the office. So
Mhm.
this one lady, she always looked at the obituaries, and I thought that was the strangest thing. You know, most people looked at the horoscope. That's where she looked, and she said, "Oh, you know, you never know. You run into somebody that you know that died. You just didn't know." I said, "Oh, okay." So I decided to look what she was looking at, and I said, "You know what? I wonder if these people got any insurance, because I should go around and get some insurance on people. Let me see. I got
Mhm.
some. I should save some money and get insurance on people. Yeah, that's a good idea." She said, "That's awful. That's terrible. How dare you would do that?" I said, "Yeah, why not?"
Mhm.
And so they laughed at me. I didn't care. I was really serious too. But unfortunately, you're not able to do that. And I even asked this guy that I was dating if I can get some insurance on, and he said he may outlive me. I said that's fine, but can I still get some insurance out on you? I don't think
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
I had to try. I wasn't stopping.
Right, yeah. Hey, can't blame a girl for trying, right?
That's right. Look, all you gotta do is just sign off on this. That's all I need you to do. But hey,
Two
I
seconds. It'll take you 2 seconds. Just take this pen. You got this.
hmm yeah. So but that was a thing that people did take care of that for their so that the family members didn't have to worry about that. But today, you got the GoFundMe going on. I don't even know if churches help anymore. I know Social Security used to give you something because I know my father passed. They gave a benefit, and if somebody paid for it, public aid would give them their money back. But they cut that out. I found out because I did call the state and found, to ask
Mhm.
because things different, from the 80s than it is 2000. So, but I asked. And I wasn't going to stop asking because that's how you learn. Things change, though. They're like,
Exactly.
they're like, nope. I'm like, yeah, I know the state is broke, but I had to ask and try. But
Of
yeah,
course.
it's really something. Just talking about this. Let's see what Christine says. Process a scam as well. Information is far. Um. All right, girl. So you know what is it was to something. When I asked a couple of years ago, they said they didn't give nothing. I called them directly. It's like, oh, that's yesterday. We don't do that stuff anymore. Um, but funeral now,
Mm.
this is I'll go there. When it For me personally, I understand a funeral is actually for those that are alive more so than those that are
Yes.
deceased. I
Mhm.
understand that. But I also understand that I'm still living and I have to live and I got to eat. So I'm not putting a car, something that's worth a car, like a car is what, maybe $20,000, a decent one. And
Mhm.
I'm going to spend that much on a funeral for a casket and flowers and whatever else that goes with it. I'm sorry. I am not doing that. I'm not going to finance it. I'm not paying into that. That's just crazy. I'm going to get the bare minimum. That is it. But a
Mhm.
lot of people, want to do that,
Mhm.
And that's their choice. That is their choice.
You know what? Because I was in that situation twice this year, technically three, but the first one that happened, which was one of my closest friends, she's basically family to us, and her mom died like 3 days before Christmas, 2018. So that was a rough one. So that funeral was early this year, and then my grandmother died right at the beginning of, well, end of February, start of March. And so that was really the first time that I was really involved in the full planning of a funeral.
Mm.
And I never understood how expensive funerals are. Everything has a cost associated, everything. And everything has a massive cost. You think that when someone says they spent $10,000 on a funeral, you think it's because they were being ridiculous.
Hmm.
You do, right? Because I mean that sounds great. What? How could it? You put a human in a box, you put some paint on them, sure, great, and you bury them. How much could that possibly cost? Yeah, about $10,000. Yeah, no, seriously, like you want the
Right.
absolute base, the ugliest looking coffin that just looks roughshod with the most weak makeup. Just one lowly rose sitting on top of the coffin. That's again a box. Yeah, that's like $10,000. It's
Mm-hmm.
really amazing. So when you start getting to the place where now this is a loved one, right? So, this is my grandmother, love her or hate her, she's my grandmother. And so, you think to yourself, on one side, yeah, it's for the living, but on the other side, part of it really is for the living to honor the dead. So, the idea of my grandmother looking hideous without her hair and makeup done, like we couldn't do it, right? Like she would be miserable. She will haunt us forever. So, we know she's got to look correct. So the makeup's got to be done right. All right. Step one. Step two actually started very early on. My uncle is a sneaky idiot. He knew where my grandmother wanted to be buried. She actually wanted, and she had discussed this because, she was already dying from cancer during the first funeral in January. So she had actually said that she really liked that funeral home, and so she wanted to be buried there. My uncle recently became an Israelite, and so he had decided already, he had found the one black funeral home, and he decided that that's where she was going to be buried. So behind everyone's back, like literally the day after she died, he moved her to that funeral home. Even though he's not the executor in the will, and he didn't have the right to do that, he did it. So now we were just kind of told that it happened already, and so we're all planning the funeral on Friday. Okay, it's a little early, but okay, let's go. So we went, and I mean, the prices, we had just planned this previous funeral. So we knew what the prices were like, and it was cheaper at the other place. It's like, fine, I'm all about supporting black businesses, but this woman was sitting there, and at the very beginning of our discussion, for example, we said, we can bring in our own casket though, right? Because, their casket prices are sky high, like thousands of dollars for something real basic. Where we're like, yo, there's like caskets for us, and it's like $300 for the same thing, right? So I want to pay for your foolishness when I can get the same thing for $300. And she's like, oh yeah, but you have to think about the fact that yours has to be hermetically sealed because you're shipping her back to Jamaica and blah blah blah. And we're like, yeah, no, it was $300. We just did this 3 months ago.
Mm.
And she assured us though we could. And then, we get to the end of the conversation, and she goes, okay, so if you want to use your own casket, then what we do is we're going to charge you retroactively for the storage fee per day that you had her body here. So between now and when you're planning on having the funeral in 4 weeks, that's going to be approximately 100 and something dollars per day. So, excuse you? Wait, at the start of this conversation, you stupid, horrid, wretched bitch, you told us we could definitely have our own casket in. Now you thought, I guess, you could convince us otherwise, but fine. When you finally say, okay, fine, well, if you're really that determined because you don't like our selection of white caskets or whatever, okay, well then no problem. You're just gonna pay $3,000 for storage charges, and then yeah, you can go get your $300 casket. So you're gonna pay $3,300 to get the $300 casket, or you can pay $2,000 for our lovely casket. Which one do you want to do? That's what they do. I'm telling you, it is so shady. Okay, the amount of fury we felt for my uncle, because the thing is, if he hadn't moved her, because she could have stayed at the hospital in the morgue, because she was in the hospital when she died. She could have stayed at the hospital in the morgue for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
He moved her to be sneaky and to force us into this decision, because he knew
Oh.
once she goes to one funeral home to switch and go to a different funeral home, right? Again, you have to pay the old funeral home a storage fee per day. Then you have to pay to transfer the body. That is not a cheap. That's thousands of dollars too. Everything for a funeral is thousands of dollars. Anytime you want to do something, it's an extra $1,000 minimum. Um, so okay, then we want this kind of casket. Then we want everything. $1,000, $1,000. Okay, you want 2 hours for people to have a viewing instead of one? That's an extra $2,000. Wait, sorry, pardon? How's an extra $2,000 for one
Wow.
hour in a place that we already have? Like, I don't get it. Um, oh well, you have to understand because we have to pay. And then she started trying to list people she pays. I'm like, oh, so if they weren't at, so like, if our viewing ends an extra hour early, they go home. Oh no, they don't. Right? They're still going to be there regardless. So we're not actually paying for their time because they didn't come in special for us. Oh, okay, I understand. See, but that's the thing. It's all this scam. It's all this hustle. So if and I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you all this, not just because I'm still clearly outraged, um, and then of course my uncle with his little Israelite self. If these were white people, you
Read.
wouldn't be saying this because you don't like black people because you've been brainwashed by society and by white Christianity. And no, uncle,
Read.
right? Like I'm telling, I've never been more infuriated in my life. The whole family is still broken over this one thing. Um, but
God's good.
right? Hello, yeah. No, for real. And so what it comes down to, what people don't realize, a lot of people have never been involved in the planning of a funeral. They've never really seen the cost themselves, and so they don't realize, by them not having life insurance, yes, it's a cost you have to pay out of pocket monthly. And yeah, it's gonna hurt, but by you not having life insurance, you're putting that cost all at once on your kids. And like in the case of my stepmother, when my stepmother committed suicide, and she didn't have life insurance, right? My sister was 12 at the time. And so my parent, her stepmother was not like, they were not together anymore. Her and my parent were not together anymore. They hadn't been together for like almost a decade, right? But she was currently single, and with an on again, off again, really terrible man. So there's no way we are leaving that up to him. My sister wanted control, so we took control so she could have that control. And when we went in there and it's like, hey, this is how much money we have. Well, that's not going to cut it. I think we ended up spending 7,000 for her funeral. And this was in 2007. And I'll tell you, it took a lot of guts for my sister to walk up to the casket. She wasn't gonna do it. But when I was going and I like waited till the last possible second, she came with me the last second, and we got to her, and her face was blue. I'll never forget. Her face was bluish gray because we had to get the cheap makeup. We couldn't afford the
Oh.
$2,500 makeup, and her face was grayish blue. um, you know, and it was so traumatic. Honestly, for her, it was even more traumatic for me, because I stood there and I couldn't even move. I couldn't even believe it, that they would do this to a 12-year-old girl. Not to mention the fact that she couldn't get her funeral and buried with the Catholic Church because, of course, you commit suicide, well, you're going to hell, so you can't go to the Catholic Church.
Mm.
Funerals are for the living, buddy. Like, come on, let's be serious. All the rest of them are Catholic. Let them have their stupid Catholic funeral. But no. Um, but it's like you see all of this and you realize you put this on your kids. Like, this happened to your kids now. That debt, where did we find that money from? I mean, where are we going to be able to get that money? How are we going to pay that money back? If you can't pay that money, what happens?
Mm.
And that's where the problem comes in. And people don't realize that is what you are doing. By you not paying $100 a month, you are forcing your loved ones. If you were to
Mm-hmm.
die today or whatever, you are forcing your loved ones or your kids, your closest kin, you are forcing them to find maybe $10,000 minimum
Mm-hmm.
to put you in the ground. And
Yeah.
that's while they're going through their grief. That's while they're going through guilt and shame, because you feel that even if it's illness, right?
Hmm.
They're going through all of this, but they have to find 10 grand. Meanwhile, they can't even find $100 a month for life insurance, let alone 10 grand, but they got to find it because you have to go in the ground. Do you see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
there are some things we need to stop taking as optional because you're right. Like, you don't need a $50,000 funeral, but I'm telling you, you will be hard pressed to find a funeral that's only $1,000. I can't even imagine how that's possible.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Um, Now for me,
Oh,
I
I
don't
see
know.
your
I
999.99 special. You're hilarious. Sorry.
Hey, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to, work this thing out.
People would seriously be like, okay, you'll be scheduling funerals like a year and a half in advance. People would be like, yo, I'll just die on this day just to make it easier because that was the only opening. Like for $1,000, damn.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I had some conversations. I don't remember with who, but I've had some conversations about, funerals and stuff. And so I was saying that forget all that open casket, whatever you remember me, that's what you remember me. Or get a picture to last longer. I said a casket, I'm like, you forget that, just use a box, that'll be fine. And as far as flowers and all that, I'm like, you can find some free flowers somewhere. Just use that if you want some, but you don't even have to buy that. In fact, you don't even have to have a funeral. If you want to, I'm like, but if you just insist, well, go ahead, but you don't have to have one. Forget all that. And I said the
Mm-hmm.
same thing about wedding too. I was talking to my ex about it, and I said, look, the whole thing is about the party. I said, let's do the party. Forget all the, all the other stuff. Dun, 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 dun. Keep all that. I said, I'm wearing purple. I said, I like purple. Because Prince was, he was the man. I'm like, I'm going with purple. And my dress going to be shorts. So forget all of that. I'm going to have a little train, take that bad fella off, bam, party dress. Let's do it. So I've just never been one to just want to go with everything else that's traditional. I just never wanted to go that route or anything. So um, for me, I
Mm-hmm.
have that imagination. I can create something, and I'm sure there's some people out there that would like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and try this because, in my opinion, it just doesn't make any sense paying all that money for a wedding dress that you're never gonna wear again. So I'm like, hey, forget the wedding dress. Wear you a nice dress like a what bridal dress, like a bridesmaid dress or whatever, or just a party dress, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like you would do for a prom. Just do something real nice, 100 something, 200 at the most, and wear that bad fella again if you can. If not, sell it and call it a day.
True. you know I mean, I am, and I get you, like, with that whole creative energy, because, like, the one thing I could not do is get married. I was not getting married in no banquet hall. It was not gonna happen. People would come, oh, this one, look how beautiful this one is, Ruby, oh my god. No, it's horrible. How's it horrible? Because it looks like a banquet hall. That's what it looks like. And to me, banquet halls in my head, they don't remind me of weddings. They honestly remind me of like business conferences. Like, I don't like them. I think it's tacky. So I was not getting married in a banquet hall. I did not care. I got married in an event space that honestly looks a lot more like a club. It's actually set up like a club. I'm pretty sure they throw club events there. But it was cool. Like, it was real cool that it was my kind of colors. It had the darks and the reds and it was almost like it would be like kind of like gloomy and mysterious. It was cool though. It was very expensive, but it was still a really nice space. And if I didn't have such a large guest list, I actually came across a lot of really nice spaces that were really cheap but nice. Like, there were there. Wouldn't you rather see something cool than just see banquet beige hall walls? Like, I don't know. And it's the same thing with the dress. I get the dress. I went and I found, like, there's those bridal boutiques that are like I don't know, not even a tenth of the cost for wedding dresses, and that's where I got mine. And then me, I tried to be cheap. I did. I tried to like the things that were only a few $100s. I did. I have expensive taste. But see, we went to a really cheap store, so it's good because then when I like the most expensive thing, it's still cheaper than the cheapest thing in the most expensive stores. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So I didn't like. Why do you need your wedding dress to be brand name? You think anyone's looking at your dress going, I don't think that one's brand name. I think it's a knockoff. You think anyone's doing that? No one cares. Like, like
But but
really?
they but they're showing underwear, the brand underwear. So hey, give it
Right?
to you.
The right? Listen, I'll tell you one of the nicest weddings. I mean, my wedding was a party of the century. People are still talking about it now. It was literally the party of the century. I was miserable, but everyone else had the time of their life.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, no, I made it a party. I didn't really make it a wedding in any
Mm-hmm.
typical sense. But then one of the nicest weddings I've attended that I was part of. I'll tell you what these people did. Now, honestly, there's some things I would change up a little bit. This is kind of like hokey white couple, like real like hokey. They're adorable though. And they had been together for a while. They had their two kids. There was a third one that was gonna be coming soon. And they were like, yeah, let's get married. Sure, let's do it. We already bought the house. We got the house. You know, we're in a good place with it. We got our cars. We're in a good place with that. The kids are in a good. Yeah, okay, let's get married. And she bought this beautiful plum colored dress, and she was like, people were arguing with her, and she's like, "Am I supposed to pretend I'm a virgin with my two kids as my ring bearers? I'm confused. While pregnant, like no, I'm not. I don't care about white dress. I want a color that looks good on me." And she's like cake white, like she white, 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 like the color. So she's not gonna look good in a white dress anyway. So she's like, I look great in plum. I want a plum dress. They didn't plan like wedding parties or anything like that. It was basically like we met the guy called my husband the night before, said, "Okay, do you have a gray suit?" He was like, "Yeah, I think so." "Okay, wear the gray suit." That's what he did. He did with all his
Mm-hmm.
friends. "Okay, wear gray suits." She did something similar with her friends. And then on the day of, basically, oh yeah, also everyone was told to bring a dish, their favorite dish, whatever they wanted to eat. And so it was like a potluck. So we showed up at the house. We brought our favorite dishes. He was all dressed up in a suit in one room. She was dressed in her dress in the other room, and family were doing their hair and their whatever. They had a friend who had a camera. We walked across the street to a field. Her dad was in his uniform, his army uniform and stuff, looking very dapper and whatever. We walked across the street to the field because, there's lots of trees. It was going to make nice scenery. They stood
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the field. They did the I do's. We didn't even sit down, just walked. We all walked across the street from their house, stood in the
Oh,
field. They did
okay.
their I do's and stuff like that. We walked back to the house. And like I'm telling you, it's like a half a minute walk. Walked back to the house and ate food, chilled out, had some drinks. It was really nice. And they
Okay.
spent like $300.
That's
You
what
know
I'm
what I
talking about.
mean? That's what I'm saying. They didn't even spend money on food. We spent money on food. Like that's what they wanted us to bring instead of gifts. They were just like,
Mm-hmm.
bring food. If you bring food and it's cooked and it tastes good, I will be happy. That was it. And then they got
Yeah.
amazing photos because all of the guys, they weren't matchy matchy, but they were all in gray, so those pictures were awesome. Same thing with the ladies that she invited.
Mm-hmm.
The friend had a great camera, so the pictures turned out great. The pictures inside the house, we could have been at a banquet hall for all you knew, with the way that the pictures were. The music, they had it set up good. They got themselves some, good surround sound system and had it all around the house.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem? They're married. They had a whole ceremony. It was beautiful. They had a pastor. The pastor came and everything, and married them and stuff. Like, why do we need to spend $40,000? Yep, that's how much we spent in total, including rings and stuff. Forty thousand
Wow.
dollars. I know. Why do you need to spend so much damn money on a wedding? Like, is the money the important? Like, I don't know. Like, isn't the whole I'm getting married the important part, and hey, I'm married now the important part? Like, I'm married in crippling debt. That's what most people have to say. We were in a position actually where we borrowed the money. We were going to borrow it from a bank, and his mom said, "No, no, no. I can move some stuff around," because she actually worked for a bank until retirement, so she had a lot of really great investments and stuff. So she moved some money around and loaned it to us, and then we found out right before the wedding, oh, here's your wedding gift. So, you know, for us, we had it, right? Other people don't have it. You don't have it.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing spending tens of thousands of dollars on a wedding that lasts for a day? All of that planning, all of that money, and your 50 years of debt thereafter are for 8 hours of your life.
And
That's
don't
it.
think about this student loan debt. Oh boy, add that along with it.
Mm. Mm. Ooh, did you see that? What did you say? Neek said $65,000. She has a friend who spent 65,000 American dollars. Remember, we spent 40 Canadian dollars, 40,000 Canadian dollars. That's 60. God damn, 65,000 American dollars.
Wow.
God damn. There's some
I
places you
could
could buy a whole house for that much money.
I could have did the wedding in $1,000. I, I
Mm-hmm.
would have fixed that. I went to the dollar store, get everything I need. Oh, I would have put that together. Had the
Thank
food.
you.
You gonna get some wings. Which one you want? You want hot and mild? What kind you want?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do it up. For the people in the back, I know y'all like 40 ounces. I'm gonna get some 40 ounces. The rest of you
Right?
get some 6 packs. Oh, I'm gonna hook you up.
Right?
Hmm.
Girl, in my next life, I would do things so differently. Um, no, actually, I was trying to be cheap. What happened was my wedding planner didn't do her job. So about 3 weeks before my wedding, I found out I didn't have a wedding. Which means all of a sudden everything that we needed to do, right? Like we got the reception hall for really cheap, but it was also because we basically had to do a lot of it ourselves. So we got the
Okay.
space for cheap. We had to do a lot of it ourselves. But then all the stuff that I ordered, I told her to order. You know what? She didn't do her job. So we didn't have tablecloths. We didn't have plates and forks and knives. We didn't have chairs. We didn't have like there was literally no wedding. And it was 3 weeks before the wedding, which means now you're gonna, it's supply and demand. They know that you really need it. Guess how expensive that's gonna be. You book it 2 years in advance, that price goes way down.
I'm sure.
And so we got screwed on everything. We had no transportation. We didn't have anything. Nothing was booked. In some
Mm,
cases, because she had credit, like in some cases, I'd given her money to put down payments on stuff. She didn't do her job. We didn't have
mm,
cake. We didn't have like we had the two places that the wedding and the reception were happening at. That's it. So that kind of screwed us a lot. So that jacked up the price. But honestly, like I'm saying that we spent an extra
mm,
maybe $15,000 because she's an irresponsible twat. And our wedding was huge. There's 250 people
mm,
attending. So I mean that's a big wedding. It's a lot of people to feed. But it still would have been like $25,000, right? And so I'm still saying it was ridiculous as shit, right? It was ridiculous, even though we had it. In the fact that his mom had it and she wanted to
mm.
give it to us, and she's one of those hoity-toity types, like she's a keeping up with the Joneses type, right? So if
Uh-huh.
to keep up with the Joneses, to make it pretty and extravagant, if I needed $200,000 to get that done, we would have had it. As it was, I'm just a very creative kind of person. So, and I'm cheap. So everything I think of, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty, but that's too expensive. Let's get that exact same level of pretty or more, but
Mhm.
for 20% of that cost, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, you guys don't realize all these industries are extortion, right? The marriage, the wedding industry, extortion. The funeral industry, extortion. That's what it is. They are playing with your emotions. They play with your life. They play with your psychology. And you might have walked in there thinking that what you are going to do, no matter what, is cheap, but they play with you. And you gotta be really mentally and emotionally strong, and not going in on a day where something just tripped you out or whatever, for you not to fall into their traps, because they know what they're doing and they're there to
Right.
extort you. Yeah, no, it's horrible. They're horrible humans.
I'm gonna hook you up. Excuse me. I'm gonna hook you up. I'm going to Sam's Club. Get some
Mm.
sheet cakes. Get all different type of cakes. Have it
Mm-hmm.
pre-cut for you. I'm gonna have you. I'm gonna hook you up. That's what I'm gonna do. Napkins. Excuse me. A lot of them gonna be courtesy of Wendy's, because you can go on to Wendy's and get a stack of napkins. So half your napkin will be yellow from Wendy's. The other half I'm gonna go ahead and get from Sam's Club. So that way it cuts down the cost. Straws will be courtesy of McDonald's. I'm gonna go and snatch, most of those straws. I'm gonna hook you up. I got you. Paper
Mm-hmm.
plates. Oh, don't worry about it. Whole Food, they keep their paper plates out. I got you. I got you. So so if you want me playing something, don't worry about it. Now I know you probably like yellow napkins. Ugh. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna fold them so nice. They're gonna look like a little rose. It's gonna be so beautiful. It's gonna look a little flower. Don't even worry about it. I got you. I'm gonna save you some money. You're gonna love him, and he's gonna love you just the same way. Don't worry about it.
Girl,
I got you.
we did that. My friend's wedding. No, I'm so serious. Um, Last second though, the yellow changed to pink, and she wanted electric blue and yellow, and then she turned it to electric blue and pink. But yeah, we did that. Yo, dollar store pickup. Like, okay, here's the napkins that are the right color, and here's this that's the right. Trust me, we did that. Everyone else's wedding after mine was not even a fraction of the cost. Okay, my for one of my bridesmaids' wedding, the one that happened a few months after mine in Jamaica, that literally, like, I went to Fabricland, okay, and I
Hmm.
bought like different colors of fabric, and then we used that, and I cut it to the same length like 20 times or however many tables there were, and draped it over the table, so that way now the table has the right color tablecloth. And same thing with the chairs, and bunch and tied the bow around it, so that way now it has the right decoration. Trust me, that was all self decoration. We were not paying those people one extra cent at all for them to decorate nothing. She's the cheapest person I know, and she does not care. You cannot manipulate that woman's emotions at all. So she decided, and she's like, no, 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 don't worry, Ruby. It's not going to all fall on you, right? Because my mom was the maid of honor. So it should have
Uh-huh.
fallen all on her. And I already knew, since I don't know where she thought she was going to be as a bride, but I know how brides are the day before, and we were only getting to Jamaica a couple days before the wedding. So I already knew how this was going to go, and it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I
Right.
had to do everything. I had a
Right.
miserable time because I had to do everything, because my mom doesn't do work. It's not her thing, right? Like, she's not the working type. But that's what it is. Like, man, the difference between us buying the stuff ourselves, again, dollar store and whatever, and we brought it with us from Canada.
Uh-huh.
From Canada, we bought it in advance, brought it from Canada there, because their cost, their upcharge for all of that stuff is too much. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'll be your Huckleberry slash wedding planner. So if anybody, just I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna save you some money. You're gonna have a good time. Just tell me the music you want. Gonna have that downloaded on the iPod. It's gonna be on. I'm gonna have a nice charge. Don't worry about it, not being charged, and don't have the plug and all that stuff. Tripping over wires. I'm gonna take care of all of that. Don't worry about it. You're gonna jam. You have a
Mm-hmm.
good time. And then your drinks, I'm telling you, I'm gonna bring so 40 ounces for your uncles because I know some of them want 40s. They don't, want no paper cups or no can. They like their bottles. So I'm gonna hook them up. I'm gonna have even a brown paper bag if they want to put that in. So don't worry about it. You need a hookup. I got you. I'm working towards my pension. I gotta do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So true. So true.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
And then my other topic, I'm gonna leave that for next week because it's so close to 8:30. So, um,
Mm.
did you have something for us? Because you came on a little bit later. Did you have something you'd like to add?
I could save it. I could save it. If it's
Okay.
wrap up time, is
Oh,
no problem. I should probably find a little bit deeper. I came across the story. I'll just briefly mention it, but we'll do it next week. But I came across this story. There's a channel called I Am Treya, and she does hair, natural hair stuff, and she has a series called Natural Hair Horror Stories. And this horror story she was talking about in this case, though, the woman wrote in, but it sounds like it's actually something that's in the news because she seemed to be reading the news report, I believe, or I don't know if she investigated. So I have to look into it more. But basically, this is a case of a little girl. She had like cornrows. You know when you get your hair cornrowed when you're a kid, but they use the fake hair to just make your hair thicker and a little bit longer looking,
Right.
and you got the little cornrows everywhere. So she had that all over in her hair, and she got into a physical altercation with another kid, and the principal reached into this fight to pull her off, he said, and he said he was trying to tap her shoulder, but what you see is basically her hair was ripped out of her head. Not
Oh
one
boy.
cornrow, several. Like, she's
Okay.
got massive bald spots everywhere. I mean, she was grabbed by her hair and pulled by individual cornrows to the point where it ripped the hair clean out of her head.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so, I wanted to revisit not just that, but just this whole issue that we've got going on with our girls and schools and hair. Because
Okay.
this is going crazy. So yeah, definitely something I want to bring up for next week.
All right. Cool in the game. We'll do that. All right. So I'm gonna hold off on also with the judge and jury. I know you guys got used to it, but I'm gonna hold off on it, and we'll do
Mm,
that next week. We'll have let me see. We'll have three topics because I have two and Ruby has one. So we'll have a full show and we may go a little bit longer. We'll see. Um,
okay.
but I keep it under 2 hours. I try to do 1.5. And that's only because I'm used to YouTube. I understand that you don't want long live streams. You want people to check it out for replays because everybody's doing live streams. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it that way because that's really the way to do it. So not like we're running away or anything, or we don't have anything to talk about. That's just the best thing to do. Just come back next week, just like you do a show. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I want to thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate your participation.
Mm-hmm.
I truly, and I also want you to have a safe and happy holiday if you celebrate. Just do have a safe week, regardless if you celebrate or not. And we will see you guys next week after Christmas.
Right. Yes. Yes. And so I guess on that note, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody who's celebrating this week. I hope Santa's very good to you. And you don't just get the lumps of coal that you earned this year. Yeah, and cross your fingers for me because Mama needs a new Ferrari. So we're gonna see how that goes. All right.
All right, then. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And you guys have a great holiday and be safe. See you next week. Peace.
Yes. Cheers, y'all.